necessarily going through a difficult time, it's always nice to connect with the surah. It's always uplifting. It's always, just because you're feeling good, it doesn't mean you don't connect with the surah, but what happens is when we connect with the surah, when things are going good, then hopefully things go from good to great. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this, inshallah. But what I really hope for, Sheikhna, do you have candy? I forget, in your office? Okay, because it helps to encourage the kids with trivia questions and interaction. Okay, so what I'll do initially is to just share a little bit of thoughts, inshallah, on the surah, and then I would hope to hear from whoever's here, if anyone has any thoughts, any reflections. So I just want to plant that seed from now. So as I'm spending just a few moments initially on the surah, I hope that everyone here can, slowly think about Tariq, can you get the goods? Stand up, man. You're going to have to pay attention, man. You have to earn it over here. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. No. Thank you. Does that go okay? Okay. So we have, mashallah. Okay, that's... You have more?
I have more.
MashaAllah. This is a good start. We have... Huh? How much you got? Endless supply of goodies in this masjid, mashallah. A whole lot of pizza, a whole lot of water and hydration, which is definitely appreciated. Y'all may not realize this now for the youngsters, but the best drink really is water. Alhamdulillah, there are many options. There's a lot of good stuff, but alhamdulillah. And then on top of that, there's Twix now and mashallah other stuff. Okay, in terms of Surah Al-Duha, there are 4 sections to the surah. The first section has to do with the present. This is at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The first section focuses on the present. The second section focuses on the future. The third section focuses on the past. And then the fourth section focuses again on the present. My first trivia question, I'm going to start with ladies first. Is that okay with you guys?
No.
Lady? No? Okay, I'm going to give, just because of that, I was going to make it 1 piece, but because they said no, I knew they were going to say no. Whoever answers it will get 2 pieces. Say no again. Say no again.
No.
3 pieces, mashallah, mashallah. I had initially divided it. There were 11 pieces, right? So 6 for the sisters, and then 5 for the brothers. But I might just move it all over. That's okay. Maybe one. We'll see how things go. So my question for the sisters, you gotta raise your hand, okay? Because if everyone responds at the same time, then I'm not gonna know who said it first. Sorry about that. My question for the sisters, I mentioned there are 4 sections to the surah. You have your hijab on? Is that what you're doing? Very classy. You say classy, San Diego. Question for the sisters. What was the first section? Yes, ma'am.
It was the present.
The present? Here, come to the front. Here you go. You get 3 pieces. MashaAllah. Awesome. Oh, someone is complaining. Take 4. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Hey, man. Adab is sweeter than chocolate. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. I would say that should be written in gold, but gold and red because of Twix. It focuses on the present. So in the first section, Allah says, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Allah swears by duha, which is a specific time of day, which is between Fajr and Dhuhr. During this entire duration, the sun is rising and only rising. So Allah didn't just swear, mashallah, mashallah. Don't get excited. I'm gonna shift it to this side. I'll leave one over here, and then. No. It has to do with adab. I could care less about sex, gender, this, that, or the other, whatever. Adab, man. Thank you for raising your hand, and you gave the right answer. Have you guys noticed how they just continue to, mashallah.
Because they're serving us.
MashaAllah. Because they're wondering, what's going on? what is this over here? So Allah swears by Ad-Duha. Allah didn't swear in this ayah by all of daytime. Elsewhere in the Quran Allah does. Allah didn't swear specifically by the sun. Allah sweared specifically by the morning sunlight. And at that time, during the time of Duha, the sun is only rising at that time. So it's very positive imagery. So the symbolism here is that Allah is swearing by this specific time of day, which is a reminder for us that, in that time of day when the sun is rising, hopefully, inshallah, for all of us, our situations will also rise similar to the sun in that regard. So Allah swears by the morning brightness, وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, and Allah swears by the night when it grows still. So Allah swears by both. Something related to do to the daytime, but it's that window of time specifically. And then Allah swears by the night when it grows still. Does anyone know what Allah says? I'm going to ask the brothers what Allah says after that. Allah swears by وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Who can give a very brief explanation? It could be a general concept. You can paraphrase. What's the... Yeah. I'll give it back to you. You're like a cheat coach for them, man. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Let me make it a bit easier for you guys. I was just testing you there. Duha is what time of day again? You gotta raise your hand. You can't just yell it out. Yes, sir. You raised your hand. MashaAllah. Yes, you. Let me take one of the two, just so you can see the difference between what's over here and what's over here. Don't complain. You complain and you'll lose the one that you have left. Go ahead. Duha is what time of day? Between Fajr and Dhuhr. Good. In the third ayah, you have the completion of the oath. So, just to give a brief example, if somebody, was talking to their friend, maybe family member, and if they said Wallahi regarding something, they're not just going to say Wallahi by itself. Wallahi has to be connected with some other concept. They're two halves to an oath. Right? Swearing by Allah, Wallahi what? Right? Wallahi blank. Okay? So, Allah swears. Allah didn't just give ayah 3 by itself. Allah swears. Allah swears, مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Your Lord has not forsaken you. He's saying this to the Prophet directly, alayhi salatu wasalam. مَا وَدَّعَكَ, this kaf is singular. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Your Lord has not forsaken you, O Prophet, nor does He hate you. Nor does He hate you. So, what's interesting about this is before getting to the rest of the surah, the first thing in the present at that time that Allah Azza wa Jal emphasizes is the emotional state of the Prophet before anything else. Allah validates the Prophet's concern that was eating up his heart. There was a gap in the period of revelation, and the Prophet became concerned, because he didn't know why there was this pause. He didn't know why there was this gap. So he started to wonder within himself, maybe Allah is upset with me. Maybe we often think this to ourselves in different situations, right? Am I not getting what I'm asking Allah for because Allah is upset with me? Am I not getting this or that because of this or that reason? Now, we have a few very basic halal cheat codes, if I can use that term, within our deen to protect us from that being the case. One of the go-to practices that we should all connect with is istighfar. This is across the board. Allah says in Surah An-Nur, وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا أَيُّهَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. Allah addresses all of the believers. Allah says, all of you do tawbah, so all of you may be successful. And the term falah is the best term that implies success in both this life and the next. So if we want our efforts to be fruitful, then what we need to do, in addition to other things, but one of the important things that we need to do, that I need to do, is to just regularly connect with istighfar. And I think a good example, a good metaphor for that, is day-to-day house chores. Okay, I'm asking the brothers, what's an example of a house chore that can be tied in with the concept of asking Allah for forgiveness? I'm going to give you guys 10 seconds, but you have to raise your hand. If you guys continue to behave, then you're gonna look, you guys control your manners, not me.
What do you mean by house?
Raise your hand and ask a question.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you mean by house chore? Like
Chores around the house. That's what I mean by house chores. Chores around the house. I'm asking you. So what you're trying to do is like when you're in school, you're taking a test, and then you ask the teacher, like, what do you mean by this math equation?
I know that's what I was saying.
Yes.
Cooking?
Huh?
Cooking?
Cooking? So how can cooking be related to tawbah, like asking Allah for forgiveness?
I forgot what I was going to say.
I'll help you out a little bit. Food for the soul. You want to come closer or should I toss it? Okay. So cooking, that's one example. Let's switch over, hold on. I want to start with the brothers for chores, because sometimes people they think, chores is only on the sister side. No. The Prophet himself, he would do chores around the house very often. Alayhi salatu wassalam. Right? Just keep that in mind, take note. From the sister side, what's an example of any maybe chore around the house that conceptually can be tied in with tawbah? You're raising your hand again. Yes, go ahead.
Like maybe you're supposed to broom or wipe, you're supposed to wash the floor, but then you spill the water and you know forgiveness.
Okay, so if you spill something and you clean it up, that's very similar to tawbah, right? If I make a mistake, tawbah is me cleaning up that mess, basically. Good answer. You want to come to the front? See, I would throw it, but you guys are a little bit further away. I don't want it to go sideways. And mashallah, awesome. Good. So, one of the things that we can do to protect ourselves from falling into that being the case is if we're people of istighfar, if we're people of tawbah, then Allah will protect us and Allah will love us. So when we make istighfar, when we do istighfar, it should recalibrate the heart and help us to remain centered. Because if some people may think, tawbah, right, is primarily for people who, make this mistake or that mistake, have this addiction or that addiction, have this struggle or that struggle. But it's not limited to that. If someone is struggling with different mistakes, different spills, you might say, then, clearly there's a need to clean up those messes, right? Here's the thing though, even if someone is doing good, likewise there's also a need for istighfar. There's also a need for tawbah. Because when Allah said that, وَتُوبُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا أَيُّهَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ, Allah is addressing all of the believers. The entire ummah, the entire community of believers, all of you should connect with this, and it'll be fruitful for all of you, for all of us. That includes someone who's struggling with different things, and that also includes someone who may do a lot of good deeds. Because if someone's doing a lot of good deeds, istighfar is going to help them to remain humble. right? To not look down on other people who may not be doing the same good deeds as them. Sometimes, for some people, the only thing they get out of praying in the masjid is that they look down on other people who are not praying in the masjid. Like that's what they walk away with. They get up early, go for Fajr in the masjid, they stay up late, go for Isha in the masjid. In and of itself, these are good things. No one is saying otherwise, alhamdulillah. But, what's the intention? Right? For some people, it looks on the outside like they're doing good. There's a shell, but if that shell is empty inside, then it's nothing more than a shell. Right? If you have a bottle of water, question for the brothers, please, save the silly answers. But what's more important, the bottle or the water? You gotta raise your hand. What's your opinion? Yes, sir. Yeah. The water? But why? I mean, the bottle has this label, it's blue, it says Members Mark, purified water. The water's just plain, man. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't have any words. Why? Why do you think the water is more important than the bottle?
You can drink water from any source with just your hand.
Speak up.
You can drink water from any source with just your hands, and the bottle doesn't matter since it just helps it better and not spilling it.
So the bottle's a vessel, right? It has its place. It has its importance. But the purpose of the bottle is the water. The purpose of the masjid is the people. Okay? The purpose of the masjid is the people. Otherwise, without the people, it's a shell. It can be a beautiful shell. It can be a humble shell. You have a spectrum for different masajid. But the whole point of that is the people. When you look at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the main attraction, so to speak, regarding his masjid was him, was the Prophet ﷺ. Not the walls, not the structure, the ground, Masjid Nabawi, of course, is a sacred place, no question. But why is it sacred? Right? Because the Prophet ﷺ, because of the person, the main thing the Prophet left behind, people. Right? Especially a lot of youth, right, who were connected to their deen. The Prophet had a very special place in his heart for the youth. And this is the norm for all of the righteous throughout history. I'll go back to Surah Duha in a moment. When you look at the example of an incredible woman in the Quran, the wife of Imran. The wife of Imran. Who can tell me, going back to the sisters, the wife of Imran gave birth to an amazing girl who would grow up to become an amazing woman. Does anyone know who that is? Who that was? Yes, ma'am. Maryam. Sayyidah Maryam alayhi salam. Would you like a piece of candy? I'll throw it if you want. Do you want to? Should I throw it to you and you give it to one of the youth, or you just want to leave it? Sure. Okay. Actually, can you help me out? You want to? She was gonna take it. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Okay. Sayyidah Maryam. So she's the daughter of an amazing woman who, with her heart, with her pure intentions, and with her dua, literally changed the world. Through one of the most amazing women ever, and also through one of the most amazing men ever. Right? She made dua. This ties in with the care for the youth. Right? Care for people, especially youth, and coming generations. Like, I have serious concerns regarding the American Muslim community, especially regarding the next generation and after that. There are serious concerns. Right? Which is why, we talked about this yesterday, I would argue that the basketball court is worth more than the musalla for your community. I'm not saying anything blasphemous, I'm not saying anything sacrilegious. Why am I saying that? Because that's a magnet to bring a lot of people. Just come play basketball. To bring these to the masjid. Just come and spend time here. Have some pizza. Right? Just come and hang out. Step one is just come. Just get comfortable in the space. Just come and spend time here. Spend time here. Yesterday, the brother Rohan, he took his shahada. Right, was Shaykh after Jum'ah. What was a key catalyst in facilitating his conversion to Islam, his journey to Islam, was the basketball gym. Right? So, when you look at this example of the mother of Sayyidah Maryam, she made her intention, she made a promise to Allah Azza wa Jal that when she was pregnant, that this child is going to be dedicated to your deen, to your service. So she gives birth, and it's a girl. And she makes dua for this baby girl. Imagine a mother holding a newborn, making dua, وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. SubhanAllah, this is amazing. Look at her concern for the youth and for coming generations with an S at the end. She asked Allah, when holding this baby, to protect this baby and any future offspring this baby may have from shaitan. Imagine, she's holding a baby, saying, Ya Allah, protect the future babies of this baby. And Sayyidah Maryam gave birth to who? Boys? Sayyidah Maryam? Yes, sir. Say it again, I didn't hear. You got 5 seconds. 5, 4, you're probably right, but you have to repeat it. 3, 2, just say it. Huh? Isa. Isa alayhi salam. Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him. Prophet Isa alayhi salam. So look at the care though, within the heart of this righteous woman for coming generations. You find Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam having the same concern. رَبِّ اجْعَلْنِي مُقِيمَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي رَبَّنَا وَتَقَبَّلْ دُعَاء. Asking Allah to make him, his maqam, his status is already extremely high. He's already, the Khalil of Allah. The intimate friend of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And he's saying, Ya Allah, make me someone who prays and from my offspring. So he's not just concerned about his kids. Of course there's that concern. But every generation to come after them as well. It's prophetic to have those concerns. It's righteous by nature to have those concerns. Right? So no matter how much bad someone's doing, no matter how much good someone is doing, istighfar is beneficial for us. And one of the things that should happen when a person makes istighfar is their heart should wake up and they should become more concerned about their community, especially concerned for the youth in their community. Going back to Surah Duha. Allah swears by the morning brightness. Allah swears by the night when it grows still. So you have these opposites here. Your Lord has not forsaken you, nor does He hate you. Because the Prophet had this concern like, oh, maybe this is the situation. And Allah is saying, no, I swear that's not the case. It's very interesting. The first thing that Allah focused on, the emotional concern of the Prophet. He was worried about something. He was concerned about something. Right? Is Allah upset with me or not? I don't know. And Allah swore, not at all. I never was, I'm not, and I never will be. So that has to do with the present. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And then it moves on to the future, and the future will be better for you than the past. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. So this is where the first thing is to settle the heart of the Prophet. Because, as we know, if someone, I'll give you an example. If there's a student, Allah protect all of our youth, who's bullied in school one day just for being Muslim, and they come home that day, they're not going to be able to focus on their homework. They're not going to be themselves. There's something eating up their heart. There's something that they're really concerned about. So, step one, right, for the family, for those around them, before anything else, it's not, oh, how come, you're having a hard time doing your homework? Instead of jumping to criticism, instead to ask them, hey, did something happen at school today? How are you doing? What's on your mind? And then if they open up and if they say, this happened, and the teacher called me this, or my classmate called me that, then that has to be prioritized in terms of hierarchy of needs. So that's the first thing that Allah does. And that's something that we should learn from. Right? To prioritize whatever is eating up someone's heart, whatever their concerns are, to start there. Nothing else matters at that point. If someone is hungry, if they're starving, if they're homeless, you don't go to them and say, hey, I'm going to give you a pamphlet, I'm going to give you a Quran. Just give them food, give them clothes, give them whatever they need. Right? Just out of the goodness of your heart to try to help them. Allah focuses on the present, then Allah shifts to the future. The future will be better for you than the past. Your Lord is definitely going to give you so much that you will be thoroughly satisfied. So you find the generosity of Allah coming into play here. Did He not find you? And then it shifts to the past. Did He not find you? So it goes from the present, I swear, I'm not upset with you. I don't hate you. Don't worry about that. And then regarding the future will be better for you than the past. Or what's going to come is better for you than the former. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. Within the dunya, it indicates that things were going to get better for the Prophet. And that did happen. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ. Eventually there were these openings in the life of the Prophet ﷺ. إِنَّا فَتَحْنَا لَكَ فَتْحًا مُبِينًا. Eventually the conquest of Mecca, so on and so forth. But especially in the akhirah. Right? The akhirah is going to be better for you than the dunya. The future will be better for you than the past. Your Lord is definitely going to give you so much that you will be well satisfied. And then Allah shifts to the past. Because Allah said, okay, right now, let me settle your heart. The future is going to get better. The future is going to get better. Sometimes we may think to ourselves, but how? It's a valid question. But how? I can't see it. I see this barrier in front of me. How is it going to get better? So Allah says, remember in the past, when you were in this difficult situation, A, and I helped you get through it. B, I helped you get through it. C, I helped you get through it. So we can reflect within our lives, if we're thinking that, if we feel stuck in a rut, if we feel like things aren't going to get any better, if we feel like, things are just stuck in the sunken place, basically. Maybe we can take a step back and think, there was that one difficult situation that I was in. This is how Allah helped me. This other one, this is how Allah helped me. This other one, this is how Allah helped me. I struggled on that one assignment and I didn't know what I was going to do after that, but then lo and behold, this thing worked out, this other thing worked out, and so on and so forth. So Allah gives a few specific examples from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Did He not find you an orphan and shelter you? Did He not find you lost, or you could say seeking, and guide you? Did He not find you in need and make you self-sufficient? I have a question for the boys. Why do you think it's so important? It's mentioned so many times in our deen, in the Quran especially. Why do you think it's so important to help orphans? Why is it so important in Islam to help orphans? Yes, thank you for raising your hand. Go ahead.
You get a lot of sawab and you get to actually help them in life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you get a lot of reward for doing so. Okay. Anyone on the sister side? Anyone want to mention? Yes, ma'am.
Because they're homeless and they're unable to help themselves.
Hold on. Please listen. Go ahead.
Because they're homeless and they have any help, so we can help them.
Okay, so they may be homeless. They may have a really difficult situation. So the idea is to help those in need, right? To help those who are disadvantaged, to help those who are struggling. And one example that's really emphasized. You want to come to the front? You want me to throw it? I'll leave it here for you. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Is orphans, right? Because if they don't have the family structure, the family support that's needed, that's huge, right? So if someone's parent brought them to the masjid today, right? If you didn't already say thank you, then say thank you in the car on the way back. Right? If you guys, if the youth who are here, if you guys just told your parents, you said, I just want to say thank you for everything that you do for me, for all the sacrifices you've made for me, for everything that you've done for me, they might legit start crying. They may also ask you, okay, what do you want from me? Why are you telling me these nice things? Why are you flattering me? Are you trying to get a PS5 or what's going on? Now, if you respond and if you say, no, I just... I was just thinking about all these different things that you've done for me. It'll make their day. They may not necessarily get you a PS5. That's fine. But say thank you just for the sake of saying thank you. We should tell people thank you, but especially if mom and dad do so much for you. So when Allah is saying, I found you as an orphan in a very tribal society, the struggle was very difficult. The odds were heavily stacked against the Prophet ﷺ. So Allah is reminding the Prophet, remember, from the beginning, when you were an orphan, and then we helped you, and we took care of you, we sheltered you, and we found you seeking and guided you. Did He not find you in need and make you self-sufficient? This especially ties in with Sayyidah Khadija, because when they had gotten married, she was very wealthy. She had a lot of status, prestige, so on and so forth. So there was a lot of enrichment in many ways. On top of everything, though, her character, her morals. Allah sent salam to her through Angel Jibreel alayhi salam. The Prophet mentioned that she's one of the 4 greatest women ever. Radiallahu anha. Trivia question for the boys. I'll start with you guys. We can do, I was going to say ping pong, but you guys like badminton here? We'll do badminton. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll see how it goes. Can any of the boys tell me any of the names, only one, of the 4 best women? The Prophet said, these 4 women are the 4 greatest women. But you got to raise your hand. Yes, sir. Yeah. Khadija radiallahu anha, the brother's paying attention. MashaAllah. Yes, ma'am. Ma'ams. I don't know what the plural of ma'am is. Who said that? I'll toss it. Can you take it to her? Yeah. Can you help me, please? Okay. I'll give you an extra one if you can be my helper, and then if you can give one to the sister.
She's gonna have 7.
Sayyidah Maryam. So I'm going to need a helper from the brothers too. Who wants to be a helper? In case. So we have Khadija, we have Maryam. Going back over here. Yes?
This is a guess. Aisha.
Good guess. She's definitely extremely important in her deen, but she's not necessarily one of those 4 mentioned by name. Yes, sir.
Wife of Fir'aun.
I'm sorry?
Wife of Fir'aun.
The wife of Fir'aun, Asya. Yes, sir. Would you like one? Okay, if you want to take it, you want to share with kids, it's up to you. Jazakallah khair. So we have Khadija, Maryam, Asya, the wife of Fir'aun. There's one more. Going back over here. Sayyidah Fatima. Okay? Jazakallah khair. Fatima radiallahu anha.
8.
8 what?
8 candy.
Well, yeah, if you have the candy, you eat it. After you eat it, then you would say that someone ate it. You're so concerned. So you want to eat it for them to save their hearts.
Especially when they're young. You don't want them to get while they're young.
Oh.
Yeah.
MashaAllah. It's very thoughtful of you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
MashaAllah,
Can we
MashaAllah.
get Pepsi?
Okay, so
Can we get Coca-Cola?
So Allah is reminding the Prophet in the past, when you were an orphan, we took care of you. When you were seeking, we guided you. When you were in need, we made you self-sufficient. وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. And then it shifts back to what? What's the 4th? This is open to anyone, but you have to raise your hand. So the first part was the present, and then future, and then past. And the 4th section is, yes.
Me?
Yes. Present, good. MashaAllah, you're saving everyone's heart. That's very thoughtful of you. It goes back to the present. So, what's interesting at the end of the surah is 11 ayahs. When you look at the last 6, you have 3 and 3. And it's good food for thought to think about, okay, how can I connect? So think of the last 6 ayahs as A, B, C, and then underneath that, if you have a paper, A, B, C, again. So Allah mentioned 3 struggles that He helped the Prophet through. And then when you look at the next 3 after that, the last 3 ayahs, you can connect A with A, B with B, C with C. And the Quran is incredibly precise, subhanAllah. So for ayah 9, Allah says, so do not be harsh with the orphan, A with A. We found you an orphan, we took care of you. So now in the present, here are action items. So Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ, when you were an orphan, I helped you from the past to the present. So now in the present, here's an action item to take care of orphans. For you to take care of orphans like I took care of you. And this ties in with the concept that a lot of our youth may struggle with when they may ask, there are these, it's a valid question, there are these issues in the world, right? There's this problem and that problem, and there's no shortage of issues. We ask Allah to protect us and to just help people in general. So they may ask, okay, where is God? Like, how am I supposed to process the fact that there are these different things happening? So, where is God? Where is Allah? It's a good question. And one response that I find to usually be helpful is, instead of looking at things passively, to look at things actively. What can I do to help that person? What can I do to help those people? How can I do something to help whoever is struggling with that challenge? Like the orphan, like what's mentioned here. So instead of asking the question, where is God? The real question is, where are God's people? So if people say, oh, there are all these people starving in Yemen, and we ask Allah to help them, and we ask Allah to help us to help them. If we look at it passively, why doesn't Allah send them food? If we look at it actively, why am I not sending them food? See, it's different. It's the same struggle. It's the same calamity, challenge, trial, whichever term. Okay, how can I respond as a Muslim in a good way to help those people? There's this issue, okay, what can I do to help them? Notice how it goes back. This surah is a surah of optimism, right? It's like we have multivitamins, right? So this is like a vitamin of optimism, right, from the Quran. So when we connect with the surah, Allah is reminding us, so if we think within our own lives, okay, from the beginning, let me, purge this idea from my heart that Allah is mad at me. Allah is not mad at people who make istighfar. Allah is not mad at people who try to do good deeds sincerely, and they protect their tongues, and they protect their chastity, they protect their modesty. When you look at Surah Anfal, Surah number 8, there's an ayah in which Allah says, وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. SubhanAllah, this is regarding like some really messed up people in Mecca who were like really, really anti-Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Classic examples of Islamophobes. And Allah says that, and they would say like, okay, why doesn't Allah just send His punishment now? Let Allah send His punishment. So Allah says that He's not going to send His punishment when you're among them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ. There's like this group of people over here. There's some really messed up people with really messed up hearts and horrible character. And there are many examples of how they mistreated the Prophet, how arrogant they were, complete lack of character. They thought they have money, they have, kids. That was a huge deal at that time because your family was everything. So if you had a bunch of kids, a huge tribe, then you had a lot of clout, a lot of power. People wouldn't mess with you. That was like survival of the fittest. Right? So if you had a huge family, then there were a lot of positive things that were tied in with that. So Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ that He's not going to send His punishment when you're among them. As messed up as they are, I love you so much that when you're with them, that reason alone is enough for me to not send my punishment. And then on top of that, Allah mentions, and they make istighfar. It's another topic for another day. وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَأَنْتَ فِيهِمْ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ مُعَذِّبَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. So if I send salawat on the Prophet, if I make istighfar, then it's like a safety net. Then I'm checking, the boxes, so to speak, of, okay, I'm protecting myself. Right? I'm doing what I can to make sure that I'm right with Allah Azza wa Jalla as best I can. The beginning of Surah Al-Duha, the validation from Allah for the emotional concern of the Prophet ﷺ. That's priority number one. After that, the future is going to get better. After that, remember in the past when times were difficult and I helped you? Remember when times... So nowadays it's like if someone's in a big fancy house and they're like, oh, there's this issue, I don't know how things are going to get better. It's as if Allah is saying, remember when you were in that studio apartment? Right? Remember when you were in college, you were in that studio apartment? Remember when you were in this really difficult situation? You were living on food stamps? Remember when you only had this much money per day, per week, per month, per year, and you were just like really struggling? Remember when I helped you go from that to where you are now? That's the feeling. Like, okay, you know what? If Allah helped me go from A to B, then Allah can help me go from B to C. So going back to the last few ayat. So do not be harsh with the orphan. So A with A. And do not chide. Here, that's what it says. The one who asks for help. Do not turn away the one asking you for help. Do not turn away the petitioner. Especially if people were asking the Prophet questions regarding guidance. We found you seeking and guided you. So this concept is pay it forward. You were an orphan. You had your struggles. I helped you get better. Your situation improved. So pay it forward. Help other orphans. You were seeking and I guided you. Now help others when they have questions regarding seeking guidance. And then in terms of Allah taking the Prophet from when he was poor and Allah made him self-sufficient, talk about the blessings of your Lord. Right? What are the blessings that we have in our lives? What are 10 blessings that I can think of right now in my life without thinking too much off the top of my head? I guarantee we can come up with 10 super quickly. Right? So we can do badminton again. Then I want to hear any reflections from anyone. Starting with the brothers. What's one? You gotta raise your hand. One blessing in your life. It can be anything. You don't have to say like, what you think the correct answer should be. And you can be like, I'm thankful for water. I'm thankful the carpet is green. It's my favorite color. I'm thankful that I'm just making stuff up. Right? Yes, sir.
Costco pizza.
Huh? Costco pizza. Do you say thank you to Sheikh? And who brought the pizza? May Allah bless you guys and give you the best food in dunya and akhirah. You answered? Costco pizza? I'll come back to you. Sisters.
Hold on a second.
Oh, I ran out of
I
candy.
want you to think more profoundly. Food is good, water is good. Be more profound with your blessings.
That's what I was gonna say something good.
Okay, let me hear it. Raise your hand.
Do we have any more goodies?
Yeah.
Jazakumullah khair.
So he's gonna pick one from the sisters and then come back to Father.
Okay. Anything from the sisters?
No.
Yes, ma'am. You're thankful for your parents? Is this your mom?
I wanted to say that.
Can you help me? Can you be my helper? Can you be my food runner? You want me to throw it? I'll throw it. Okay, I tried. Going back to the brothers. Yes. Nature? Why nature? Good answer. Why nature?
Because of who Allah makes
Exactly.
nature for like us kind of so we can like it's beautiful and stuff.
So nature is beautiful. Okay. It's also therapeutic. It's also a reminder of the creator of nature. Okay. From the sisters. So now we're at 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4. Yes.
I'm thankful for a home.
You're thankful for a home. Okay. Couch. I tried. Brothers. Yes.
This masjid. Thankful for this masjid.
You're thankful for this masjid.
Yes.
Why are you thankful for this masjid?
Because this masjid brings a lot of the Muslim community together. So that's the Jummah. And it brings a lot of people from not Muslims to play in the gym.
Good answer.
Alright.
Is that 5? 6. Any blessing? Any blessing that you can think of?
Okay, I'm going to take a second. Think more profoundly. Look at your own bodies and think of the blessings Allah has blessed you with. Stop.
I'll come back to you, but I just want to see if anyone else... You know what I should do? I should start calling on people who just haven't said anything yet.
Ooh. Like the person on the
Yes, ma'am. Intelligence. What an intelligent answer. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Catch.
Yeah, your turn.
Yeah, you have to take it back for your car. Boom, boom. Like that.
Yeah.
Sheikh, the word of the day is voluntold.
Is what?
Voluntold.
Voluntold?
Yeah, so it's voluntold.
I always maintain general parents and see I'm thankful for my health, while it lasts.
Thankful for your health? Very good answer. A very good comprehensive answer. What's one specific thing related to your health that you're thankful for?
Everything. I know it's one of the sayings. It's be grateful for your health while you're young or something like that. But specific to me, I guess, just physical and mental, they kind of tie in together. I have a lot of hobbies that are sports, active related, so that also helps me keep my mind in check too.
Right, the two are interrelated. That's a good example. Jazakallah, the importance of, thank you for mentioning that. Someone talked about mental health in the masjid. Oh my God. Good, thank you. That needs to be the norm, not the exception. Anyone? I'm going to start calling on people. I love that you have so much enthusiasm. I really do. I just want to spread the wealth a little bit.
She was on her phone. You should call her.
Yes, ma'am. Auntie. May Allah bless you. May Allah reward you for your kindness. May Allah elevate you, inshallah. Can you take one to Auntie? She can keep it. She can give it to whoever she wants. That's up to her.
Just for the record, she drove 30 minutes to be here, so.
30 minutes. I think we should give her 2 candies. Would you like 2 candies? Two. Give her 2. Give her 2. It's okay. To which one? In the green shirt over here? Okay.
Oh.
Okay, over here. Maybe one each? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 2 left. Okay?
Hold on. There's more people to answer.
2 left. Anything? Can I ask any of the parents if you want to share anything? Yes, sir.
Okay, I always try to say my daughter that how thankful we are because of we have eyes, we have ear, we have mouth, we can taste, we can see, we can hear. Those are the very beautiful things, right? If something got missed, then you see how one is different. So I always try to say thanks to Allah that we have everything. We have this. We have the way to enjoy this beautiful life.
Jazakallah khair. Did you guys hear what he said?
Yeah.
One of the youth. What's something that was mentioned?
Eyes.
Yes, sir.
In 5 senses, eyes, ears, and nose, and tongue. Eyes, ears, and yeah.
Just to put things in perspective, Allah gave us these things, in a sense, for free. Out of His generosity, Allah gave us these blessings, alhamdulillah. Right? None of us filled out a form before we were born. I want 2 eyes, I want 2 ears, a nose, both nostrils to work, so on and so forth, right? So on one hand, that's Allah's generosity. On the other hand, so we thank Allah for these blessings and we ask Allah to protect them for all of us. If you think about what it would be like without these blessings. So I'm thankful for having eyes. SubhanAllah, what if I couldn't see? What an amazing blessing it is, especially when it's contrasted with the opposite. And then to put things into perspective further, if someone does need eye surgery, right? It's complicated, it can be expensive, something with their ears, brain surgery, so on and so forth. But when you take a step back and you look at how Allah gave us these things out of His generosity, so we can thank Allah with our words, alhamdulillah, right? Allah, I'm thankful for the eyes that you've given me, the ears, so on and so forth. And we can also take it a step further and do acts of gratitude. اعملوا آل داود شكرا وقليل من عبادي الشكور. How can I use my eyes in ways that are pleasing to Allah? How can I use my eyes to benefit other people? Maybe there's someone who can't see, but if I can see, maybe I can help them, get into the passenger side of the car they're getting into. Right? The Prophet gave specific examples of, if you help someone, like at that time, get on their mount, nowadays get in their car. Right? If you help someone to do this or that, or removing something harmful from the road. Right? Yesterday when we were going for lunch after Duha, Sheikh stopped his car, got out, put on the hazards, and there was a construction sign had fallen over. He got up, moved it to the side, and he said, subhanAllah, someone can get a flat tire from that. The first thing I thought of was, there's a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ in which he said that there was a man, he removed something harmful from the road, Allah gave him Jannah. SubhanAllah. May Allah accept it from you and from everyone. Right? So when we think about these blessings and, what if I couldn't hear? My eyes, my ears, my sense of touch, and alhamdulillah. Right? So how can I use what Allah has given me to show Him my gratitude with actions? Going back to the sisters. We're looking for number 10. We're just talking about blessings, right? وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. To talk about the blessings that Allah has given us. It can be anything. Is there... Yes, ma'am.
I'm blessed with my kids.
Blessed with your kids? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Right? So you can take this, give it to your mom. You want me to throw it? She said throw it. Are you like secretly a really good cricket player? So you can catch the cricket ball barehanded, right? There are no gloves. I don't know how. Okay. So now I want to open it up, guys, please, to a little bit of discussion, just to see if anyone has any thoughts, any reflections, anything that they want to add, anything that came to mind regarding the surah, it could be anything related to anything that was mentioned, or even other things that may not have been mentioned. Yes, ma'am.
You spoke about saying wallahi, but say that we are not supposed to swear.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of people say for every other line saying wallahi.
Right.
How true is it, and how often, and should we not use this term?
Good question. So the simple answer that I would offer is that if a person is saying wallahi, it should only be in a situation when it's a serious situation, right? There also, you can break it down into two subcategories. One may be conversational, one may be a concrete oath. Like if someone takes the stand and if they put their hand on the Quran and they swear and they swear by Allah, like that's a very, very serious, very serious situation. And then conversationally, culturally, in some cultures, people may say wallahi more often, and there isn't necessarily anything wrong with that, because it's not being used in a bad way. It just, the idea in general would be, for us to be mindful whenever we're saying it, to err on the side of caution, and Allah knows best. So it's not that we can never say it, but the idea is to be careful if and when we say it. So, good question. Jazakallah khair. Any other questions, comments? Yes, sir.
So in South Asian community, it's extremely common to swear besides a lot of different things. Like people will say, I swear by the house I'm sitting in, or the food in front of me, or my business, right? They will swear on these things. And that's not permissible either within Islam. If you swear by Allah, otherwise you don't swear at all. People always will swear from, parents' graves, or their kids. You can't do that. That is extremely, it's almost a form of shirk, because you believe those things are more important than Allah. Allah is in your life, so you're swearing on those things. You can't take an oath on, the house, the business you have, stuff like that. So you have to be careful. South Asian community, mashallah, we're very good at these things. So we come up with swearing on things that don't even exist. So you'll hear people say, I swear on my parents' graves. Don't do that. That's extremely a form of shirk that goes on.
Jazakallah khair. So that also helps to put things in perspective. The one who we're swearing by, and we don't swear by anything other than Him. Allah can swear by whatever He wants. Allah swears by time. Allah swears by the morning light, because He's the Creator. So He has the power and the authority to do that. But we don't. Just because oftentimes that's a follow-up question. So how do we understand these ayahs when Allah swears by time wal asr or the morning light wal duha? Because Allah is Allah, right? So thank you for mentioning that. Jazakallah khair. Anything else? Any other comments, questions? Yes, sir.
So, as you were talking about how Allah blessed us with our five senses,
Mm-hmm.
and our body is also a blessing and gift from Allah.
Mm-hmm.
So, before you die, some people try to donate their organs
Mhm.
that are still healthy to hospitals so that they can use it for other treatments. Is that the way that you use your blessing to have things in life?
Good question. Very valid question. And for these types of like big questions, really good one, it's usually best to look at what different fiqh councils have put together regarding these things, and are there different opinions regarding these types of issues, and if so, where are the different opinions coming from, so on and so forth. In short though, one, I like how you're thinking. That's a very intelligent, you mentioned intelligence, right? Reflection, jazakallah khair for sharing. So my understanding is that if somebody, it's up to the person. If somebody chooses to be an organ donor, would that be acceptable? There's the opinion that yes, that would be acceptable. Allahu alam. Does a person have to do it? No. Is a person ungrateful for their organs if they don't sign up to be an organ donor? No, not necessarily. The main idea is while what you're saying is a good point. But the main idea is while I'm alive, how can I use my organs, for example, my hands, my feet, my eyes, my ears, wealth, health, you mentioned health, right? To serve others, to benefit other people. So if Iyad, right, is mashallah, healthy and strong, physically and mentally, and if he says, hey guys, Ramadan is right around the corner, it's in a couple weeks, before that, let's do something where we go and we feed the homeless. Let's do something where we go and we use our time and energy. Like you have to be healthy enough to be able to go and do that and other things, right? To serve people, to help people. Go to a soup kitchen and you're using the abilities that Allah has given you to help other people. That would be that's the main concept, right? So while we're alive, how can we use these things to do good? Now, if somebody chose to do that, that would be an acceptable option. It's always worth looking into it further. What exactly does that mean? What does that mean regarding the city that I'm living in, the state that I'm living in, the country that I'm living in? What does that entail? Where do these organs go? Who do they help? So on and so forth. So it's worth looking into the different nuances. But generally speaking, that would be an acceptable option, and it's up to the person, and Allah knows best in that regard. Good question, though. Yes, sir.
It's not a question, but just reminded me of something that the health aspect of, like you said, you have to be healthy enough to go be a homeless person, etc. I remember my dad told me this story a long time ago about some guy who was paralyzed more or less, but he was asked what if you could have your body back, what are the three things you most want to do? And I don't remember. I think one of them was to hug his mom or something, but the number one was to be able to have the blessing of making some food. And so it just kind of reminds every time I come into my I see brothers, maybe they're old in age or whatnot, but they have to sit on chairs. So it just I'm always remembering that aspect, just being able to physically go down.
To be able to do that, yeah. That's what you're mentioning is a very, very is in connection with a very powerful video that's on YouTube. When there's a brother who he was healthy and then he became paralyzed. He became quadriplegic, so he couldn't move any of his limbs, but he could talk. And so he basically had an accident, and after that, he was in that condition, and those are some of the blessings that he said that he wished for more than anything else. To be able to give his mom a hug, to be able to do sajda, to be able to turn one page of the Quran. SubhanAllah, things that we may not think of, right? But when you hear someone whose ability to do these things was taken away temporarily in this life, and may Allah give him and all of us Jannah, the perspective changes, right? So that should make me think, so what you did there is a really important skill, right? To reflect on the theory, and then on a practical level, when I come for Jum'ah, and I think, may Allah bless our elders, right? They're still coming to the masjid, even though, right, they may not be able to do sajda comfortably, right? So they're totally valid. But they probably wish they could. And they probably feel like, I remember when I used to have this blessing and it was so easy, and life happens and times change. So if someone can do it, then alhamdulillah, right? I'm thankful that Allah has given me this ability, that I'm healthy enough to be able to do that. And those 3 action items specifically, coming from, if for kids, I wouldn't, ask your parents to watch the video and they can show it to you. There's nothing bad in it, but just in general, when kids and technology, ideally parents would be involved every step of the way. That's a good point, right? So how can I express gratitude to Allah for my health and whatever other blessing He's given me? Jazakallah khair. Any other thoughts? Yes, ma'am.
So you touched on it yesterday in kind of this lead about how do you respond to somebody who's questioning the existence of God. And I've come across this in many instances when we're talking where they're already, they've got a foundation from their families, that we have to pray and we do this and that, and they come from some religious backgrounds. Explaining it to them is easy. And I like how you have approached it, how you talk about it from an action perspective. How do you explain it to somebody who's completely doesn't believe in the existence of God? So I'm going to take what you said and how you said in an action item. Say, I'm going to go and give food to the needy. But they would say something like, when I have had conversations like this, I'm the one doing the good work. I'm the one what? I'm inherently good. That's why I'm
inherently good.
Why? What does that have to do with the existence of God? So I've had these conversations. It's very hard to get, that point. How I guess I'm asking, how would you approach somebody who doesn't believe in the existence of God, believes that people are inherently good, that's why there is good on this earth. So how would you approach something like that?
Jazakallah khair. Good question. Thank you for mentioning that. A lot of it kind of depends on the dynamic of the situation. So if it's someone who's a coworker and if you've known them for 5 years or 10 years, or if it's someone you just met, or of course that would adjust things. That being said, what's being described is something that we believe in as Muslims, which is called fitrah. Right? Allah has placed this natural goodness by default in everyone. And there's a commonly misunderstood hadith. A lot of Muslims, think that the Prophet said, ﷺ, that everyone is born Muslim and then their parents raise them to either be Jewish, Christian, or Magian, and basically parenting plays a role in someone's journey. The Prophet didn't specifically say that everybody is born Muslim. He said everybody is born on the fitrah. Right? Islam parallels the fitrah, but technically speaking, he mentioned one thing and not the other. One explanation of, and I learned this from Imam Suhaib, that one explanation of the ayah of Nur, in Surah An-Nur, in which Allah gives this beautiful imagery, right? Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, and there's this example of this niche, and within it is a lamp and the glass and the light and the oil, so on and so forth. And then you have this beautiful phrase, Nurun ala nur, light upon light. And one explanation that he gave in that regard is revelation connecting with the fitrah. Right? So the fitrah is its own light, its own source of guidance and good. There's this natural human decency in people. Right? And that's just this moral compass that Allah has placed in everyone. Everyone is born with it. And then after that, things may change. But that that fitrah is still there. So if there is someone who, let's say they're atheist and they go and, they're feeding the homeless, may Allah guide them through their fitrah, right, to the second layer of nur, so that way they end up with light upon light. A lot of the time, everyone has their situation, but a lot of the time, if people resort to atheism, not always, but a lot of the time, people may have had bad experiences in the church, in the masjid, in, synagogue, temple, whatever tradition, whatever house of worship. A lot of the time, it has to do with bad experiences with people. Unfortunately, there are many examples of abuse, of different types of abuse. Parents, we can fill in the gaps here. A lot of the time, these things are so difficult that it may lead someone, to end up in that place, right? So that's coming from unhealed pain. That's coming from trauma, right? So tying it in with Surah Duha, step 1, like in the ER, right? People, ER, may Allah bless just all the ER doctors, period. I don't know how in the world they do what they do. But what happens in the ER is in the emergency room, they have to triage, the situation. So if someone shows up with a broken leg and they're in severe pain, we thank Allah for our legs, and we ask Allah to protect them. If someone shows up with a broken leg and they're in so much pain and they really need treatment now, that's definitely valid. But if someone else is having a heart attack, between the two, so when you triage, right, you're analyzing what's needed most right now. So based on that, okay, this is priority number 1, so we start there. So if someone has unhealed trauma, if they have serious pain, God knows what people have been through. Step 1 is hopefully for that trauma to heal, just as a person, whether it's through therapy, whether it's therapy coupled with medication, whether it's this or that. People have their journeys, and there are different ways to heal, hopefully. Because if someone is emotionally bleeding out, then that's priority number 1. That's what's needed. Now, once that happens, then hopefully there can be, within themselves, hopefully they can embark on that journey. Surah Duha, we found you seeking and we guided you. Allah guides those who wish to be guided. Right? وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَاهُمْ تَقْوَاهُمْ. Allah says in Surah Muhammad that for those who seek to be guided, Allah increases them in guidance and gives them their taqwa. So Allah gives them taqwa and gives them a sense of ownership over that treasure of taqwa, and they protect it, right? They really care about it. There are many examples that I know of, that you probably know of, that others here know of, where people may leave religion altogether, but then they may come back. They may leave Islam, and then they may come back. There are cases where people may turn away from Islam because of the wrong Muslims, and maybe they come back through basketball, soccer, pizza, food, whatever, hiking, whatever it may be. They may come back to Islam through the right Muslims, right? So ideally what we can try to do is to just live our faith. And I really love the imagery that Allah Azza wa Jal gives in the Quran regarding the Prophet. I mentioned it last night, Allah compares him to both the sun and the moon, the best of both. The example of the Prophet is extremely bright and beneficial like the sun, but technically, one thing about the sun, you can't look at it. It's going to hurt your eyes. And that's where the moon comes in. There's the power and the benefit of the sun from the prophetic example, but there's the beauty of the moon. Right? And both are interfused. The way the Prophet often approached things is he just did. Right? He just helped people. He just wanted to do good, and then if they asked, if they had inquiries or what have you, then that may happen. So like through you or through anyone, just trying to live our faith, that's the example, to smile, to greet people, how are you? If they're sick, write them a card, maybe start the idea, for example, in the office, hey, let's write so-and-so a card. And we all know the example from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. Does anyone know what example I'm thinking of? You got to raise your hand. Of like someone mistreating the Prophet, or people mistreating the Prophet, and then he somehow, ﷺ, he responded with forbearance, with hilm, with in a positive way? Do you want to mention something?
Well, I forgot which like city it was, but they like used to like throw rocks at Prophet Musa.
So when the Prophet went to Ta'if, and later on he described that as the most difficult day in his life. He had just lost Khadija, radiallahu anha. He had just lost Abu Talib. And because he had just lost these two people, especially in connection with that, especially Abu Talib, because Abu Talib was like his political shield. Now he passed away. So who's his political shield going to be? Abu Lahab? No. So he had to go and look for another home for the Muslims. Because things were just getting horrible, like even worse than before. That's why he went to Ta'if. So he goes there, and he's basically chased out of the city, rocks are thrown at him. This is one of the most amazing things about the Prophet ﷺ. Like you come across this story, it makes you pause and it makes you wonder, like, how? Like, how did he do that? ﷺ. And it forces you to say, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So many stories, right? The Bedouin comes up to the Prophet ﷺ, and he yanks on what he's wearing. Please, no one do this to anyone. He yanks on him and says, give me from what Allah has given you. What do you think your average person, average Joe, what do you think your average person would do if someone walked up to them in Walmart, grabbed them by the collar, and they said, buy me this right now? What do you think they're going to do?
They're gonna kind of like
They might body slam them. They might punch them in the face. They might yell at them. They're going to get upset, right? Somehow the Prophet ﷺ responds where he smiles at the man and he tells someone, okay, take him and give him something. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I have to say sallallahu alaihi wasallam every time these stories happen, because it's like, I don't know how. Hats off to you, alayhi salatu wasalam. It's incredible, right? So what the Prophet did in these instances, he just lived his faith. He just tried his best, right? And through that, subhanallah, his own people in Mecca from Quraysh, he's going through some really hard times, himself and the Muslims. So he goes to Ta'if, and he went to Ta'if because Ta'if was the other major city in Hijaz at that time, that part of Arabia. You had Mecca and you had Ta'if. So he goes to Ta'if seeking support. He's mistreated in that way. And somehow he responds, his concern for the future generations, he says maybe he's given the option for these people, for them to be destroyed right now. Right now. Like he's still bleeding. And he's given the option, do you want them to be destroyed right now? He could have said yes. No one would have said, why would he say yes? I mean, it makes sense. But he said, no, maybe their kids will become Muslim. Subhanallah. So concern for future generations. It's interesting to note that after this happens, Addas, a servant or slave, there were some people from Quraysh, and they saw their tribesman was mistreated, so they sent him with some grapes, go help him out. So he goes and offers them to the Prophet, and the Prophet, says Bismillah, and he starts eating. And Addas, who's Christian from Iraq, he says Bismillah, like people around here don't say that. And the Prophet asked him, where are you from? And he said, what is it, Nineveh? How do you say it? Nineveh? So he mentioned that town in Iraq, and the Prophet said, oh, that's where Prophet Yunus is from. And Addas, he said, how do you know, like, people around here don't know who that is? But he knew because he was Christian. He said, how do you know that? He said, and the Prophet said, he's my brother, I'm a prophet, and he's a prophet. Addas became Muslim, and he, washes the feet of the Prophet. It's very interesting. And then right after this, you have Isra and Mi'raj. SubhanAllah, the lowest of lows for the Prophet, ﷺ, and Allah elevates him. Even if you're rejected on the earth, you're accepted in the heavens. Even if you're rejected by your own people in Mecca and by these people in Ta'if, this person still accepts you. There were jinn who became Muslim after that. They accept you. They heard the Quran. They accepted it. So it's very interesting that even during the darkest days of the Prophet ﷺ, there were still some silver linings, and then you have Isra and Mi'raj, and subhanAllah. So I would say if we just try to live our faith, we just try to do good, and then people will, hopefully benefit from that light, from that example, inshallah, and we do what we can. It's a good question, Jazakallah khair. Any other comments, questions, inquiries before we wrap up? And it's been a long morning for some. Yes, sir.
So, in the Western world, like in the East, we commonly hear some questions like about Islam.
Mm-hmm.
Islam really following religion is very hard, it is strict, it is stressful,
Mm-hmm.
and Islam wanted to do things in a particular way. We encountered questions from the youth and also the people.
Mm-hmm.
How do we counter those questions?
If there's the question of if someone is saying that Islam is difficult, there are all these rules and different things that you have to do, and so your question is how to respond to that?
Yeah, right.
Good question. I think it depends on who's asking and where they're coming from. Meaning, if it's for example, if someone's child, right, is saying there are all these rules and let's say they're 13, 14, for example, and they're just it's overwhelming. It seems like everything is haram and this and that. A lot of it has to do with how we teach them. Because the Prophet described deen as ease, right? And Allah says in the Quran that He wants ease for us, not hardship. That Allah didn't design our deen in a way for it to become a burden. So a lot of it has to... And Sahaba, the best generation of Muslims, they weren't given everything all at once. Right? They were allowed years and years and years, decades even, to grow in their faith and in their practice. Even Isra and Mi'raj, it wasn't day one Iqra, day two, pray 5 times a day. Right? Isra and Mi'raj, for the 5 daily prayers, before that it was 2, morning and evening. Basically Fajr and Asr, they were 2 rak'ahs each. And then Tahajjud was also really good. But the 5 daily prayers specifically, how we know them now, that was 10 years later. Right? So alcohol wasn't made haram in Mecca because they were just trying to survive as Muslims in terms of their identity. So a lot of the struggles that our youth are going through tie in very significantly with the Meccan phase, because that had to do with identity. If they're you could say literally being bullied in Mecca just for being Muslim, that wasn't the time to just lay on the rule book and just lay down the law and all these different ahkam, so on and so forth. That wasn't the time. They weren't ready. Bilal is being dragged through the streets. Abdullah bin Mas'ud is being beat up. Abu Bakr is being beat up. The Prophet's being attacked. You have all these different examples, right? Sumayya being killed, the first martyr in Islam. Her husband, Yasir. You have Ammar bin Yasir seeing his parents go through that. He's going through it himself. And major struggles, right? They went to Abyssinia, Habasha, for a reason. There were 2 trips to Habasha. So, if a lot of the time that may have to do with how we're teaching them, right? So if we're putting too much on them, and if they're no, this is too much, it's overwhelming, then okay, maybe we can prioritize what needs to be prioritized, right? Bring them for basketball, for badminton. That's beautiful, that's awesome, right? I keep going back to that because I mentioned this to Sheikh, I wish every masjid had a gym like this one. Right? We can hope. And to also have people like Sheikh, right? I really hope and pray that the community takes care of Sheikh and his family, right? Because when you have the right person to bring the youth on a Friday, Saturday, anytime, any day, right? Then the water, right? The people are what matter. The youth are what matter. So I would say if we take things little by little with people, and then they'll grow in their faith. Even the Prophet didn't go to Sahaba, even in Medina, and say, look, some of you guys are drinking too much, you need to stop. He didn't bring it up. They came, and this is in the Quran, they came to him, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They asked you, so they brought up the issue about alcohol, about liquor, and gambling. So they brought it up. Right? So we can learn from that. For some things, we can wait for our youth to come to us, to ask us, for people to ask us, and then we can try to respond wisely as best we can. Even look at the response of Allah. Allah didn't respond saying, they asked you about alcohol and gambling. say they're forbidden, they're haram, they shouldn't be doing these things. This was step one. Allah said there's both good and bad in these things. It's interesting. There's both good and bad, but there's more bad than good. That was Allah planted the seed. And then the next step, just don't pray when you're intoxicated. And then the next step, when it was haram, then they were ready overall. Right? Little by little. When I'll conclude with this, one companion came to the Prophet ﷺ, and he mentioned what you're saying. Now there are all these rulings in Islam, and there's so much. Right? So just advise me. So the Prophet advised him ﷺ to keep his tongue moist with dhikr. Just do this. Take this small thing and then, do that as often as you can. It's very easy, very practical. The Prophet gave the perfect answer for that person. And dhikr is like this amazing polish, right, for the heart. Istighfar, salawat on the Prophet, so on and so forth. So if our kids are like, this is too much, I can't do it. Okay, basics. If anyone is a teenager and they're praying 5 times a day, they are unicorns. God bless them. Whenever I see youth in the masjid, especially teenagers, I feel like I'm witnessing a miracle. SubhanAllah, the Red Sea is splitting in front of me. Especially if they choose to come to the masjid on their own, where they're not dragged and forced, and where they want to come. And that's why there need to be fun activities where they want to come. They want to come. And then eventually they'll taste the sweetness of salah and iman, and they'll find that sweeter than pizza and Twix and all these, awesome things. But it takes time. So may Allah make it easy for all of us, and protect our youth and guide us and them, and help all of us to make it home to Jannah, inshallah. Any final comments before we conclude, inshallah? I owe you a piece. And I owe you a piece as well. Did I give you a piece? I think. Okay. Oh, okay, bounce.
You can make basketball shots.
I can't make either. Okay. Any last words before we conclude? Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان في خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير. What are you waiting? If you want candy, come to the front. Recite one ayah of Quran and I'll give you a candy.